Two-player game of Scarface 1920 will come on back after the break. Hey everybody, welcome out to the show, Board Game Reviews. This is a YouTube channel dedicated to our wonderful tabletop gaming hobby, and this video is going to be a two-player playthrough of the game of Scarface 1920. Now in this playthrough video, my goal is to show you as much gameplay as possible versus playing, or at least trying to play as smart as possible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play this game as a two-player game, and each one of these teams is going to be using very different strategies. There's a couple of reasons why I want to do that. First, I want to talk about in my review about how the game does actually offer multiple different ways to play the game, which is a wonderful positive for the game. But also, I think it's going to allow all the players out there viewing this video to get a rough idea of how the game plays. So please don't look at this video as a complete strategy guide and look in and go, well, that was a dumb thing you did. That was pretty dumb you did too. Oh, no, that was the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. Well, I'm probably going to end up doing a few of those moves because I'm trying to show you as much gameplay as possible. I'm not striving to go ahead and score $300 into the game. I'm striving to help you to understand how to play the game itself. Now, if you have any comments or questions, make sure you leave them down in the YouTube comments down below. I do my darndest to answer those questions as quickly as I can. Also, feel free to email me off-the-shelf board game reviews. That is otsbgr@gmail.com. I do my best to answer those emails as quickly as I can. Enjoy the videos, you enjoy the content, think about tossing $1 in the tip jar over on Patreon. Remember, this channel is 100% sponsor-free. It means I give you my own unbiased opinions, but it also means that I have to pay for everything out of my own pocketbook. Tossing $1 in the tip jar is a great way to say thanks and also help me keep the channel growing strong. Enjoy this video, you enjoy the videos in the series, click that like button, click that subscribe button, and heck, you don't even have to put it all in the tip jar to help the channel growing strong. Just click that like and the subscribe button down below. It costs you absolutely nothing beyond a couple mouse clicks and 2 seconds of your time. It's going to start everything off with the two-player game of Scarface 1920. Now in the sample gameplay, I'm going to do my best to get a full two-player game down in 2 hours, which means I need to get myself in gear here and start doing these actions as quickly as possible. I have the board all set up. The only thing left to do is the actual individual player setup in the player order. Now this game, Capone is going to be player number 1, and then player number 2, we're going to see over here on the side is going to be wonderful Stephanie St. Clair. After the board is set up though, the thing that we need to do is we need to get the individual single players started with their locations on the board. Now again, we do this in reverse player order. Reverse player order is going to be Stephanie St. Clair as a player number 2. So she gets to pick her neighborhood very, very first. Now I'm going to do a little bit of strategy discussion as I play the game. My hope is that you actually watch my full tutorial video or the overview video if you just want to get an idea of how the game plays. Again, this is going to be a gameplay video. That's my 100% goal, and I'm going to keep it as focused on that goal as possible. So what we're going to do is in reverse player order, Stephanie St. Clair gets to pick her neighborhood first. And we're going to go ahead and take this neighborhood right here, and we have an option. We put a gun out, or I'm sorry, not a gun. We can put a truck out there, or we can put out a car. We're going to pick a car to go out there for the simple fact that Stephanie St. Clair is extremely, very, very good at dominance on the area control of the board. Whereas Capone, he's kind of a little bit on the opposite end of the spectrum, where he's really good at hiring the associates. I almost wonder if I picked these two factions for a very specific reason. And that requires way, way too much planning. Anyways, back to the game. So now that we've picked our area, we have put our car out there, we're going to place our control marker out there, and then we need to figure out which 2 resources we're going to start with. Again, they can be 2 barrels, 2 guns, or 1 of each. And in this case, we're going to take 1 barrel and we're going to take 1 gun. We simply place those over here on top of our deals. And that's the first decision for Stephanie St. Clair taken care of. Now let's go back to Capone. Capone has a pretty much not a great idea, and 2 ideas that look almost exactly the same. Actually, they do look exactly the same, so it really doesn't matter. We're just going to go and pick one of them. We're going to go ahead and start with one of our trucks. The reason should be pretty darn obvious once we start getting into the game here. The obvious reason is that, well, we're not going to start with 3 resources. That truck's going to help us make up that deficit that we definitely have. And talking about that deficit, that means that we are going to take 1 gun and we're going to take 1 alcohol barrel, and we're going to put every one of these onto one of our deals. Remember, our starting deals each control or can contain one resource apiece. That's pretty much it for the setup. Now let's go and start the game with the Capone player. And before I do that, let's go ahead and cover exactly which one of the jobs that the Capone player has. I'm going to leave the jobs for Stephanie herself as a little bit of surprise to kind of show you how much fun the job cards can truly be in this game. First thing we have for Capone is missing witness. Well, we get some cement boots. If you've seen any kind of crime drama movie, you know exactly what that reference happens to be. Next up, we have drive-by shooting, and then finally we have officer on the payroll. Well, these should be pretty darn self-explanatory what they do, but this is going to allow us to get some enemy thugs off the board. This card right here is going to allow us to do a little bit of control of the crime rate, and this card right here, well, this is going to allow us to influence things right before raids occur. Now, those are going to be the jobs that the Capone player has. Now, don't forget that Stephanie St. Clair has 3 of her own jobs, which are going to be a total surprise for all of our players. That's it for setup. Let's go and start things off with the Capone player, who has their hand of 6 cards. Let's go and shuffle things very, very quickly so you know this is all 100% on the up and up. And let's go ahead and draw 1, 2, and 3 cards. It's actually not what I wanted, but hey, that's what we're going to get. Let's go and start our turn with the Capone player. So starting with the Capone player, the very first thing I think we are going to do is we're actually going to play the Capone card itself. We're going to put our 2 bodyguard cards off to the side because I think I know exactly what I'm going to do. Capone himself, right at the start of the game, produces 1 influence and 1 muscle. I also have 4 skills available to me. One of those skills is the ability to go ahead and increase the current amount of muscle and the current amount of influence that I'm producing on my turn just by using those skills. And I actually think I'm going to play 1 more card on top of that because, again, I'm trying to show you as much gameplay as possible when you go ahead and play this game. This is going to give us a total of, whoops, wrong card. Oh my gosh, that was kind of funny. Ignore what I just said. We're going to play the 1 card, like I said. I forgot I grabbed bodyguards, not the lieutenants. I was looking over at Stephanie's hand. Shocker, she has a lieutenant card. Oh well. Anyways, so we have Alphonse Capone, who we are going to play out there. He has 1 influence and he has 1 muscle. The 1 skill he has is that he can bump up either his influence or his muscle every time he uses a skill. Remember, we use the same skill 3 times if we want to, which means we're going to have a total influence of 4. That means that we are going to go ahead and do one of the hire an associate actions. So to do a hire an associate, we're going to grab one of our thugs off of our board out of our headquarters. They're going to go directly to the underworld. Remember, when we go to the underworld, our wonderful influence in the whole amount of crime drama is going to go up by 1 point because we have a thug now that are located. Now we do the hire an associate action. Now we have a total of 4 influence. We have a choice between the judge and the Canadian mobster. Well, I know I'm going to take the judge right here and right now. And then since this is a 4-star card, there's no way I can put it in my hand because I don't have 2 barrels of alcohol. I could have, I would have planned better, but I didn't. So I'm going to take this judge, and this judge is going to go into our discard pile. That is going to be it for our turn. We're going to simply reveal the next card. Our Capone card is also going to go into our discard pile, and then we're going to draw up our hand size. We have 2 cards in our hand. So we're simply going to draw 1 more card, and that's going to be our 3rd bodyguard. We still have the option to use our bodyguards if we want to, with the ability to move some of the police officers, but I don't want to sacrifice those barrels. That's it for Capone's turn. Let's go and hop over to Stephanie's turn. Now, if you look at Stephanie's board, you're going to see that she is extremely good at getting those slugs out onto the board and maneuvering those slugs across the board. That's one of her great strengths. She can go out there and take over all the neighborhoods if another player doesn't stop her from doing so. And to kind of demonstrate how that works, that's kind of what we're going to do with this game as we're playing this game. In our current hand, we happen to have 1 lieutenant. Actually, correction, math is hard for me today. We actually have 2 lieutenants, and we also have 1 bodyguard. That is going to give us a total of 1 muscle, and that's going to give us a total of 2 influence. Not the best thing in the world, but I definitely want to get some thugs out onto the board as quickly as possible. But I also want to upgrade my gang board, and I think this might be an actual great time to do so, because I want to upgrade in a certain way that's going to allow me to make sure that I have as many thugs available to me when I need those thugs. So optimally, what I would do is if I could, if the cards would have been in my favor, I would have somehow managed to upgrade my recruiter's level. Since that's not actually possible for me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to upgrade my gang in a way that's actually allowing me to get a larger hand size. The larger my hand size is, the more cards I have available to me, and that's going to cost me 2 points of influence. So that basically means I'm going to burn both my lieutenants. I'm not going to play a 3rd card. I'm going to keep the bodyguards in my hand, meaning that I still have One card left in my hand, but this is going to give me a total of 2 points of influence. So since I have 2 points of influence, that does mean that I'm going to go ahead and increase my hand size. So we look over here to increase your hand size, you must have 2 influence. We do from our 2 lieutenants. Now I just simply need to discard $4. Take $4, I'll put that back into the box, and I'm going to go ahead and get $6 in change. Now that I've done that, I now have $6 left, and we are going to go ahead and upgrade our gang board. We'll advance our boss, and then we are going to increase our hand size. Now that is going to increase our current crime rate. Not a terrible thing. We're still in the green, so we're not too worried about that just yet. But now we have an increased hand size of 4 cards. This is going to help us making sure that we can manage to get the cards out there we need when we need those cards. That is going to basically be it for Stephanie's turn. Now we get to go back to Capone's turn. Now back to the Capone player. Now the Capone player is going to start with a ring in their hand because remember, when you hire an associate, you gain a ring. So that was the very first action that Capone did. Well, that does mean they have the ring. And we now need to gain a $1, and that puts us at $11 because we're playing a 2-player game. 2 minus 1 is going to be $1 for controlling the ring at the start of our turn. Now in our hand, we can go ahead and look and see that we have 3 bodyguard cards. And I guess I should discard Stephanie's hand from the prior turn. Now that that's done, we see that we have 3 bodyguard cards in our total hand, which means we are producing 3 muscle right now. I think this is going to be a great time for Capone to go ahead and do an upgrade for their gang as well. Now the upgrade I'm going to do for my gang is the ability to get better resources every time I go and visit a dealer. I think that might be a great way to go ahead and get the ball rolling for the Capone player, and to do so, I'm just going to go ahead and spend a couple of these cards. Now to do so, we know that it takes 2 muscle to go ahead and increase our recruiter's level, plus it's going to cost us $4. So we'll spend the $10. We'll go ahead and get $6 back. That leaves us with $7. And these are the 2 cards we are going to play for the total of the 2 muscle. Now that we've done that, we're simply going to upgrade our dealers from a 0 to a +1. That is also going to increase our crime rate. And then our boss card is going to go up to the better level, which means now the Capone card is now worth 1 muscle and 2 influence. That's a good thing for him. That is it going to be for the Capone player. All we need to do is draw our last card because we spent 2 cards go into our discard pile, and now we have these 3 cards are in hand for next turn, which is going to be 2 lieutenants and 1 of the bodyguards. Now you may have noticed I haven't started using skills on the bottom of the cards yet because it hasn't really been a good reason to use those skills yet. Doesn't mean that this is good, doesn't mean it's bad. It's just that so far where we're going, there's no reason to use our skills. Let's go ahead and go back to the Stephanie St. Clair player, who now has a hand of 4 cards, including 3 bodyguards, and we also happen to have our boss card. Now our boss card is already up to level 2, which means we produce 2 muscle. Plus 1 muscle, plus 1 muscle, plus 1 muscle is a possibility of a total of 5 muscle. I think what we are going to do is we're going to play all 4 of these cards. Now this is a very gutsy move, and the reason why I am doing this is because I want to cycle my hand as quickly as possible. The faster you cycle your hand, the faster the card is going to come back in your hand, and the faster you can start taking action, especially with your boss card. So I'm going to go ahead and burn all 4 of these cards right here, right now. Since we're playing more than 2 cards, that means our crime rate is going to go up 2 levels. So I'm going to go to 2 all the way up to 4. Don't worry, it's not too bad. We're still in the green level for now. Now, since we actually played the Stephanie card, the nice thing about this is that means we do have access to her skills. So if we go over to her board, we can see that we have access to these 3 skills, and we're going to use 1 skill first before we even start taking our action. And that's going to be carrying out 1 recruitment right here, right now. Remember, we can do this 3 times. So I'm going to carry out 1 recruitment, which is going to bring us to a full total of 5 thugs that we have. Now remember, we produce a total of 5 muscle. That means that we can take all 5 of these thugs and do the action of go ahead and doing a send a thugs to a district action. And we move 1 thug per point of muscle we produce. Produce 5 muscle, we're moving 5 thugs out to a location where we currently have influence. Now, if I wanted to, I could have used Stephanie's ability to go ahead and move first before I did that, and that actually would have been the smarter way to do this. So going back to the Stephanie board, I will show you that she also has other skills. I'll go over these all really quickly with you. Carry as many recruitments as you want, sell as many guns as you want for $4 each, move any number of your thugs ignoring bribery, or for each rival neighborhood you next to any of your thugs steal money. I forgot her ability is actually for the thugs only, so I actually did do this right, so I shouldn't have second guessed myself at all, but hey, sometimes we do that. So this is our actual action, which is moving all of our thugs to the neighborhood because we produce a total of 5 muscle to do so. Now we still have 2 skill uses left, and one of those skill uses we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and move some of our thugs here. So remember, when we do this, we can ignore any police officer briberies that we need to spend. So I need to get 4 thugs into this area. That's going to allow me to capture 2 of these neighborhoods. So my second free action is to go ahead and move 4 of our thugs over here, and that's going to be a free action for us. The final thing we are going to do is we're going to go ahead and move 2 more of our units using our last action. I'm sorry, 1 more of our units using our last skill action. We're going to take this one right here, and I think we're going to move him all the way over here just like that. So that was 3 uses of our skills. 1 was an upgrade, 2 was movements, and then our actual action for the turn was to go ahead and do the action that allowed us to move our thugs onto the board, one of the other actions. Now we do have all of our skills available to us from our cards, which is spending money to move police officers. Now that we have presence here, right here, we can go ahead and send one of these police officers to another neighborhood as long as we have control. We have control in this neighborhood right here. And actually, I think I'm going to be a little bit sneakier. Instead of moving him here, I'm going to move him there because I did have 3 bodyguards, which means I can move 2 police officers without spending any resources. I'm going to move this police officer right here just like this to be a thorn in Capone's side. And I'm not quite sure where Capone is going to move yet, so I'm going to move this police officer right here. That is an extremely efficient use of my turn. I've spent all my cards. I have no more cards to go ahead and draw, so that means that next turn I'm going to have to do a refresh phase, a reorganize phase, but that's it for Stephanie. Let's go back to Capone. For the Capone player, what I think we're going to do is we're going to do another upgrade of our gang. So before I forget, let's go ahead and gain our dollar. I bet I'm going to forget this at least one time during the game to take the money for the ring. If I do, just leave a note in the comments down below, but I'm going to do my utmost to make sure I remember to do this constantly. But we have a hand of 3 cards, 2 lieutenants and 1 bodyguard. I'm not going to play that bodyguard yet. Probably not the best thing to do, but I want to do a gang update right here, right now, because my Capone card is going to start getting more and more powerful the more I advance my gang, and that's kind of a very decent strategy I want to work on with the Capone player. So we've managed to create 2 influence by playing both of these lieutenant cards out onto the board. So now I played these 2 lieutenant cards. Actually, you know what? Better idea. Since we know that we are going to have 1 more turn before we have the reorganization, let's do something different. I think we are going to go ahead and get supplies from a deal. I only need 1 muscle to do so, and I think this is a much, much better idea for us to go ahead and do so. Let's produce that 1 muscle, and then we are going to take 1 of our thugs, and we're going to send them to a deal. And I know in this game that having guns are a little bit harder to get, so I think we're going to go ahead and head to our gun supplier right now. That's going to allow us to produce 1 gun. Now our gun supplier is already has maximum supplies, and our alcohol supplies are already at their maximum, so this gun has to go into a neighborhood that we currently control. I'll simply place that right there, and guess what? I forgot to put out my control marker at the beginning of the game. That is kind of funny. Oh well. Minor edit. We'll move on after that. So that is going to be our action that we were taking because we simply gotten supplies from a deal. We moved our thug onto the deal. We spent our card. That's going to be it for a turn. We're going to discard this card. We don't have any more cards to do or to draw from our draw pile, so now we get to go back to the Stephanie player who gets to do a reorganization phase, which is what they're really looking for because they're going to make a little bit of money here really quickly. So for the reorganization phase, the first thing we are going to do is we're going to go ahead and sell resources. Luckily, we have a gun in a barrel. What exactly does that mean? Well, that means that we are going to do a sale in this neighborhood right here because we control this neighborhood. It takes 1 barrel and it takes 1 gun. I will happily do that sale right here and right now to go ahead and gain $12. Nice and easy, not a big deal. And guess what? We're starting to win the money race because now we are at $17, or sorry, $18. Math is hard some days. But at least we have more money than the Capone player. Now that we finish our sale, we're going to gain $3 for each business marker that we control. For now, emphasis on for now, we control 1 business only. So that's going to give us $3 more. I'm going to take a 5 and I'm going to put 2 back. Now we have $21. Now, if we had any of our thugs on any of the authorities or any thugs on any deals, we pull them back right now and we pull back as many of our thugs from the prison as the current amount of level of our lawyers. We don't need to worry about that. So next thing we are going to do is we're going to carry out as many recruitments as our recruiter value. So if we look over on our board right now, we're going to see that our recruiter value is currently 1. So that means we get to carry out 1 recruitment. Well, that's nice and easy. Let's go ahead and recruit just like that. That carries out a recruitment, and then we're going to go ahead and reshuffle our discard pile. Now remember, our discard pile is still our basic 6 cards, unlike the Capone player who now has 7 cards for them, but the nice advantage for Stephanie is that she's going to go ahead and draw 4 cards instead of Capone, who's still stuck drawing 3 cards every turn. The only thing left to do is to go ahead and advance the time track, and that is going to finish Stephanie's turn. Let's go ahead and go back to Mr. Capone and figure out exactly what they want to do. Well, we already know what they're going to do because we talked about it. We're going to go ahead and spend both of our lieutenants to go ahead and go and do this deal right here, which is going to be the deal of upgrading our gang. So before we do anything else, I'm going to go grab the $1 I get for still controlling the ring. And then we're going to spend both of our influence, and we're going to spend both of this influence right now to go ahead and increase our hand size. So we will increase our hand size, spending 1 skill up, which is going to cost us to go up 1 level on the crime rate. Our boss is going to move up 1 more point, which is great for us. And now we have 2 lieutenant cards. Let's go ahead and spend one of those lieutenant cards. It's not going to help us too much, but at least we'll get this thug all the way back. That'll be it for our hand, and then we're going to discard our cards. We'll have no cards in our hand next round or in our draw pile. So it looks like Capone is going to be next in line to do a reorganization phase. Back to Stephanie. And actually, before I go any further, this is the fun part about playing a pretty advanced board game with myself trying to control multiple sides and, you know, make it kind of entertaining for all of you out there. I forgot the skill that Capone has for his dealers. When I made that deal last turn, I should have got 1 extra deal in my choice, and I would have actually chosen a gun because that was a smart thing to do. I'm going to minimize these mistakes. That's 2 mistakes I've made so far. Hopefully those are the last 2 mistakes I'll make for this entire video, because that's my eventual goal, is to be as mistake-free as possible. Now, let's go back to Stephanie's turn, who actually has a lot of cards in her hand. She has 4 cards in her hand, including her boss card, 2 lieutenants, and a bodyguard. I think we're starting to look really, really good, because now we have 3 influence, or we have a total of 3 muscle. That actually gives us lots and lots of choices of exactly what we want to do on our turn. I'm looking at the police captain. I'm thinking the police captain would be very good, because the worst thing that we can do in this game is go ahead and make it so that we're constantly getting our basic cards back into our deck. We don't want that to happen, because that's going to slow us down very, very quickly and make us as inefficient as possible. So I'm liking the police captain, which is 2 muscle, and it also gives us 2 influence. I'm thinking that's going to be a fantastic card, and I do produce 3 influence right now. Of course, that's going to require me to put out 3 cards, which isn't the best thing in the world, because we're going to get a double hit on our total amount of crime rate, but I think we're going to do this anyways. So we're going to lay out our plan, which is going to give us a total of 3 influence and 2 muscle. I'm going to take the action here of hiring an associate. I do have 1 associate currently in my headquarters, so I will place them there. So now we're going to get a total of 2 bumps up on the influence for the crime rate track. 1 because we played an extra card, 1 more for the action we're taking from going into the underworld. We're already at level 6. We don't want to go up too fast, too quickly, because that's not going to be good for us. But that's going to give us what we need. Now we're going to take the police captain right here. We don't have any alcohol barrels to go ahead and pay for him to go in our hand. So this will go immediately into our discard pile. Now we have some skills that we have access to. We have retrieve, and then we have the 3 skills from Stephanie herself. I think I'm going to use all 3 of those skill levels to go ahead and do 3 recruitment actions, because again, I'm trying to get my thugs as up to the headquarters as quickly as possible. So to do so, remember 3 skills. So we'll go 1, 2, 3. Actually, no, we're going to do 3. We're going to move 3 from our slums into our safe houses. We're going to discard our entire hand of cards. Now we have 1 card left, and our hand size is 4. So that means we're going to draw our last 2 cards, which is going to be 3 bodyguards, which we're going to have for our next turn. Back to the Capone player. Now the Capone player has no cards in their hand, and they have no cards in their draw pile, so that means they could do a reorganization phase. Luckily, even during a reorganization phase, as long as you have the ring, it's still going to give you $1. And I'm going to go ahead and, let's see, we're up to $10, not too bad right now, and then we get to go ahead and do a sale. We're going to do a sale in this area right here, and we have 1 truck, which means we take 1 less resource from the cost of what we're doing here. So we're going to spend 1 gun, plus we're going to spend 1 barrel from our alcohol supplier we have on our dealer, and then our truck is going to fill up the last barrel. That's going to give us a total of 3 resources we need. We're going to gain $16 minus the bribery we have to pay for the police officers, which is going to be a total income of $14. I'll take a 1 back, and I'll take a 15. And now we're starting to catch up to Stephanie, keeping the amount of money between the both of us pretty darn even so far. Now that we've done that, we're going to gain $3 for every single neighborhood business we control. So that's going to be $3 more for us. Then we have nothing in the authorities. We have nothing on our deals. So now we get to carry out recruitments. We have a recruitment level of 1. So let me move 1 from a safe house into our headquarters. Now we're back up to 4 in our headquarters. We're going to shuffle our hand. Now remember, we actually have 7 cards to go ahead and use. And our hand side is also going to be 4 because we upgraded our hand size. So 4 cards, leaving 3 in our draw pile. And we're going to gain our lieutenant, our crime boss, and both of our bodyguards. Let us know what we think about doing on our next turn. Next thing to do is advance the time marker. That's it. Now we get to go back to the Stephanie player. So for the Stephanie player, we know on our turn that we happen to have 3 bodyguards in our hand. And again, I'm going to burn all 3 of these cards. And why do I want to burn all 3 of these cards? Well, the reason why I want to do this is because I'm trying to cycle my hand as quickly as possible, and I want to get those good cards back in my hand. Yes, there is a risk in doing this because I keep on raising up the crime rate, but that's one of the risks I'm willing to take for the Stephanie player to start off as a very aggressive turn in the start of the game itself. So I'm going to play all 3 of these cards. My crime rate is going to go up by 1. Crime rate is now equal to 7, and we are going to go ahead and perform a conquering or taking over of a neighborhood. We're going to go ahead and take over this neighborhood right here because we have a total of 3 muscle, plus 1 for a thug is a total of 4 muscle. 4 beats a 3, so now we get to take control of this neighborhood. So I'm going to discard all these cards, and then we are going to take our neighborhood control marker, place it right there, signifying we now have control of this neighborhood, and we're going to discard this entire hand of our cards. Now, the nice thing about this is we get to do a reorganization phase next, which means that we are looking pretty darn good so far. Not great, but we're looking pretty darn good so far. I'm actually happy with what we got. Now, what I could have done is actually kept one of those cards back and did another takeover, which is actually going to give me more money on my refresh phrase. And actually, now that I'm thinking about it, that might actually be the better play because I will have enough money or enough influence in this section to go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and retcon that really quickly because I think that's going to be the better idea. Instead of playing all 3 cards, I'm simply going to play 2 of those cards. I'm going to take one of those cards back, one of those bodyguards, which is going to give me 1 muscle on my next turn. It's really all I need to go ahead and conquer one of these neighborhoods. I think that's going to be the smarter move for us. And it's going to keep us in the yellow, not quite as dangerous if a raid happens to occur for us. So I'm not feeling quite too anxious about this because we're definitely getting very close to a raid because you see where that time marker is getting close to. It's getting very, very close to that extra. Back to the Capone player. Now the Capone player, for their turn, I think we are going to go ahead and just make a deal with our alcohol supplier, which means we need to produce at least 1 muscle. Not that big a deal. We have bodyguards. I'm only going to play 1 bodyguard for 1 muscle, which allows us to go ahead and make 1 deal. That's all we really need to do right now. We're going to take this deal, we're going to place it on top of our alcohol supplier, which is going to give us 2 barrels of alcohol, plus 1 more barrel for the fact that we have the dealer supply upgrade. So that's going to give us a total of 3 barrels. 1 will go in the alcohol supplier, the other 2 are going to go into the neighborhood itself. Now you gotta be very, very careful because this is starting to look a little bit enticing for Stephanie. So I wanna make sure this neighborhood doesn't look too enticing because she's gonna move in and start stealing our resources if I'm not careful. So I wanna make sure that does not happen. That's gonna be very much it for our turn. We've only going to play 1 card on our turn. And now we can move back over to the Stephanie player who has a full hand of exactly 1 whole card. We're going to use this 1 card and we again are going to go ahead and take over a neighborhood. Now to take over a neighborhood, all we need to do is we need to have a total amount of muscle equal to that neighborhood plus or minus any defenses it has. I think we're going to take over this neighborhood right here because this looks like a very lucrative neighborhood. We have 1 muscle plus a total of 4 muscle is going to be a total of 5 muscle. This neighborhood only has a 3 defense, which is not a lot, so we definitely have taken control of this neighborhood. I'll take one of our control markers, place it on top, and I will discard our last card, meaning that Stephanie is definitely going to have a reorganization phase on her next turn. But you see, we're starting to take over a lot of Chicago. I'm not trying to be thematic to history, but it's kind of funny because I'm kind of following thematic history. A brothel, and a brothel. No, I did not do that intentionally. But again, it's kind of funny now that I'm looking at the board. Back over to Capone. So for the Capone player, we see that I forgot to draw a card. That was kind of funny. So now that I see my full hand of full cards, we see that Capone and we have a lieutenant and we happen to have 2 bodyguards in our hand. I think we are going to play our lieutenant and we are also going to play our boss card. Now this is going to give us a total of 3 influence total. I'm going to use one of Capone's 3 skills to get us up to a 4 influence right now. We're going to purchase the Run Runner, which costs us 4 influence to do so because I'm doing the incident of hiring an associate. So since I'm showing you what I'm doing, let's go ahead and do that properly. We're going to take 1 thug and we're going to add them into the underworld. Now that we've added them into the underworld, our crime rate's going to go up 2 all the way to 6, putting us in the yellow mark. Again, we're producing a total of 4 influence right now, thanks to 1 use of a skill. Now that we have a total of 4, we're going to buy the Rum Runner card itself. Since this is a 4 or a 5 star, I'm going to discard 2 barrels of rum right now to take this Rum Runner, and they're going to be added into my hand directly because I paid the full cost for that card with a gin importer. That's another really, really nice card too. Next, we're going to use the skill right here. It says retrieve 1 thug from a district or a deal. Well, I'm going to pull back our thug off of our alcohol supplier deal right now. And then I still have 2 skills I can use right here, right now. The first skill we are going to use is our ability to control our lawyers. Our lawyer level happens to be 1. I'm going to use it to reduce our crime rate down 1 point right now. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use the ability for me to hire any associate from the associate board right here, right now, as long as its star value is equal to or less than my hand size. And additionally on that, I'll just need to spend $2 per associate. Now, before we continue on, remember, grab that $1 because I knew I was going to forget it. So the only thing I need to do is I need to spend $2 for every single star value of that associate. I'm thinking I'm going to get the gin importer. Now, I'm not going to waste the alcohol on managing to get her into my hand directly. Boy, that is such a nice card. I'm so glad that came up right here, right now. So this is going to go in my discard pile, but I need to spend $10 for this because it's a 5-star card. I'm going to take $10, spend the $10 right there, and now I have used this gin importer into my hand thanks to the use of my skill. So I use all 3 of my skills. 1 skill to lower my crime rate, 1 skill to increase the ability or the amount of, crime rate. Sorry, words are hard some days. Next thing I did is I lowered the value, or I hired another guy, and then I increased my influence. Boy, that was just a moment where my brain did not want to function in the same time zone as my mouth. That was kind of funny. And actually, I think I realized I just cheated because I'm trying to remember if the cards refresh at the end of your turn or immediately when you buy a card. It's actually an interesting thing. I'm actually going to check the rule book because I don't actually remember that right now. And it's funny because I'm filming this after I did my tutorial video. That's really funny. Well, you can kind of include this as part of my tutorial. I'm going to go check the rule book. I only cheated a smidgen. It was a legal move because I could have bought the gin importer if my hand size happened to be 5. My hand size is still down to 4, so I'm just going to take the Canadian Mobster, which is still a pretty darn good card, but it does mean I'm going to get $2 back because I only need to spend $8 for him, not $10. So add the Canadian Mobster to our discard pile. That is going to finish out the Capone player's turn after we go ahead and refresh all of these cards right here. Ooh, there's another really good card. Ooh, lots of good cards coming out. So the only thing left to do is our hand size is 4. We have 3 in our hand. We're going to draw our 4th card, which is going to be that judge. Now we get to go back over to Stephanie's turn. Stephanie gets to do a reorganization phase really quick, which is going to make her a little bit of money. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to sell in any neighborhoods. We don't have anything to sell in any of our neighborhoods, but now we get to get money for every single business that we currently own on the board. We own 3 neighborhoods, means we own 3 businesses. That means we are going to gain $9. Put $1 back to go ahead and gain $10 for us, which is going to be super duper nice. We had to retrieve anything from our authorities, anything from our deals, and then our lawyer level will help us get back from the prison. Then we get care as many recruitments as our recruitment value, which our current recruitment value happens to be 1. We'll go ahead and advance 1 thug right here back into our headquarters, which is going to be super duper great for us. Now, the only thing left to do is to reshuffle our hand of cards. Now, remember, we do have 7 cards in our hand, which is very, very nice for us. Want to make sure that we're not falling behind on that aspect. Apparently, discard piles are a little bit challenging for me today. And then we'll draw a hand of 1, 2, 3, 4 cards, 3 in our draw pile. We'll gain the police captain, the bodyguard, our St. Clair card, and a bodyguard. That's actually going to be a great start for us for the next round. Then we're going to advance a time marker, which is going to take us into an extra phase. Here come the raids. So unfortunately for the Capone player, who was trying so darn hard to get their thugs out of the underworld in time by playing that very nice purchasing that 1 card, didn't happen in time for them because Stephanie was pushing that time marker very, very quickly. So all of these thugs are going to go from the underworld into prison. It's a little bit tough sometimes, but hey, that's how the game plays. Next up, we reveal the top raid card of the raid deck. The top raid card of the raid deck is going to be G-Men hit hard and they hit fast. It's going to say raid effect. If possible, each player takes their thug's cars, and trucks from their districts, places them next to a neighborhood they control, ignoring any bribery required. Some days words are a little bit harder than others. So I have control here, don't need to move anything at all. I have control here, don't need to move anything at all. So that's kind of very, very nice. Looks like I planned that very, very well. So basically this just forces you to go back to the districts where you have control of some kind. Next up, we need to spend resources based on our current crime rate. Both of us are in the yellow, which is going to be spend 4 of a combination of alcohol and guns from your neighborhoods. Ooh, that's going to be painful for Capone. Well, not too painful. We're simply going to lose 1 gun because it's only from our neighborhoods, not from our dealers. That's not too terrible for us. Then every one of us is going to go down on our current crime rate equal to our lawyer level. Well, both of our players have a lawyer level currently of 1, so that's going to put Capone back in the green. That's going to leave Stephanie still in the yellow. That's going to be it for the red card. Now we get to move on and finish ending up this extra phase, including revealing what our next news card is going to be. So, Elliot moves up. The various markets are going to refresh very, very quickly. Then we're going to reveal the newest news card, and I'm going to pick that up so I can read it, and we're going to see Police chief has been arrested. For raid is triggered during an action turn, the colored effect and reduction or crime rate reduction only apply to players at levels 9 to 11 red. Interesting. That's going to make things very, very exciting this turn. Or round, or however you want to say this. Last thing we need to do is we're going to go ahead and put the time marker all the way back on the 1 to 2 player mark. That's 1/3 of the game down, and this is moving pretty darn quickly for both of our players. And now for the Capone player's turn, we have actually quite a lot of options, including buying the Widow, which I think is what we're going to lean towards right now. So our action is going to be the action of hiring 1 associate. So let's grab one of our thugs, go into the underworld, and our crime rate is going to go up to 5. And if I remember correctly, this is getting me closer to one of the jobs I'm trying to finish. It is getting closer to where I want it for one of the jobs I'm working on. So now that we're doing the hire the associate, next thing we are going to do is play our cards and do our plan, which I should have first. So those are the 2 cards we are going to play into our plan. Or do I want to? Nope. No retconning. I'm going to go exactly the way I'm thinking because this is the way I think things should go here. So we have a total of 5 influence, and we're going to go ahead and grab the Widow and add the Widow into our plan here. Wow, I really should have thought about this better. This has definitely been a game with tons and tons of options and lots of variety. That's one of the things I do enjoy about this game. Multiple strategies, multiple different ways to play the game, and multiple different ways to go ahead and make things happen. I think I'm going to play smarter here and play this differently. Let's go ahead and take this thug back. Let's go ahead and reduce our crime rate level down. I'm going to plan the next 3 of my turns right here, right now. I'm going to take a very super simple turn right now. We're going to play out a bodyguard. And the action we're going to do is we're going to get some supplies from a deal. I'm going to take one of my thugs and I'm going to send them to my alcohol supplier deal, which is going to give us 2 barrels of alcohol, plus my level 1 of dealer supplies and give me a total of 3 barrels of alcohol. Only place I can store these is going to be in one of my neighborhoods. Unfortunately, I only have 1 neighborhood, so we know where those are going to be stored. That's going to finish that turn. Let's go ahead and discard this card, and let's draw our last card into our hand, which is going to give us a hand of 4 cards, giving us the lieutenant, which I knew was coming, which allows us to pull that card back off that deal. Kind of seeing the cycle, how things are going to work. That's going to work out really, really nicely for us. Now we get to go back over to the Stephanie player, who has a very solid hand of a police captain, our boss, and 2 bodyguards, giving us lots and lots of options of things that we can do on our turn. But before we do that, let me remember our skill card right here to go ahead and get rid of that. Nope. Send that police officer right here for my bodyguard skill on the Capone player's turn. Back to Stephanie, who has 2 bodyguards, a police captain, and our boss card itself, and lots and lots of options that we can do. Oh boy, this is going to be so nice. So darn nice. I think I know exactly what we're going to do in our turn. Devious and fun. So we're simply going to play 1 card and 1 card only. Can you imagine and can you guess what that card is going to be? We're going to play the police captain. The police captain is going to give us 2 muscle and 2 influence. We're going to go ahead and use that 2 muscle right now, plus our 4 muscle right here to go ahead and seize a neighborhood. This neighborhood has a total defense right now of only 3. We beat that very easily with a total attack strength of 6, even though it has a +1 defense from this police officer right here, making a total of 4. So we now have control of this area. We're going to put one of our markers there, signifying we now have control of this neighborhood. That is the actual action we're going to take. But now we have this card right here. Now we didn't play any additional cards. Didn't have the skill marker anyways. But we still take the top half, which says, take 1 business marker other than a nightclub from a rival neighborhood and place it on one of your neighborhoods. Well, that's nice and easy. We'll take this one, and we got to place it on one of our neighborhoods. Let's put it back here on a neighborhood that's a little bit more protected, because I think that's a fantastic idea of what we can do. That's going to be our complete turn. We will discard this card, and we'll draw our hand back up to 4 total cards, back to the Capone player, who now gets to grumble a little bit because they see they're losing potential reasons and possible access to money. At least we still get that $1 for having the ring. That makes everything wonderful, right? That $1 every single turn. It's so much better in a 4-player game. That $3 every turn really does add up in those 4-player games. So for the Capone player, we are going to play 2 cards out on our hand. We're going to play the Rum Runner, and we're going to play the Judge, which is going to give us a total of 5 influence and 1 muscle. We're going to do the hire an associate action. So we're going to take one of our associates, and we will place them right here into the underworld, which is going to raise our crime rate by 1 by doing that. Luckily, I only played 2 cards, so it's not too terrible. I have a total of 5 influence. We're going to go ahead and gain the Widow. I am going to spend the 2 alcohol to go ahead and add her into my hand directly, because I do have a nice plan for that card. And then we have 2 skills available to us right here, right now. Don't get the access to that skill or that one, because it has to be a different card giving us that ability. But we still got the Run Runner, which says spend 1 alcohol barrel for each thug you want to retrieve from the underworld. Hey, nice and convenient. It's almost like this was planned. Next thing it says is retrieve all the thugs from prison, reduce your crime rate as many levels as your lawyer value. Well, I do have 2 in prison. Why, thank you very much, Mr. Judge. I will thankfully do that very, very quickly. My lawyer value, unfortunately, is only 1, but that's going to put us all the way back to 4, leaving us in the green, making this a very, very good turn for the Capone player. No cards left in our draw pile, so we don't get to draw any more cards, but we still have 3 cards in our hand. Back to Stephanie. So the Stephanie player, for her turn, actually has quite a few options, but I think the option I'm going to do is send one of our thugs to the authorities, and that's going to allow us to start building some businesses. But I'm also going to take advantage of our skills, so I need to produce as much influence as possible. So I'm going to play these 2 cards right here, leaving these 2 cards back in our hand still. This is going to give us a total of 2 influence and 2 muscle, but also 3 skill uses, so don't forget about that. That's kind of nice. So we're going to send one of our thugs, who's going to go to the authorities, in an effort to allow us to add business markers. Since we have 2 influence, that means we get to add 2 businesses anywhere on the board. I'm going to add 1 brothel right there, and I'm going to add 1 brothel, I think, right there. I think that's going to be a good way to do this right here, right now. Now that we've added the 2 businesses, now I have access to the 3 skills we have available to us. So the first skill we're going to use is going to be the recruit action. The next one we're going to do is another recruit action, and that's going to leave us with 1 skill action left to go. I think that 1 skill action we're going to do is we're going to do the one that allows us to move any number of our thugs, ignoring bribery, to another area. So I'm going to take one of my thugs, and I'm going to move them right over here. Remember, one of the special abilities we have is the ability to start stealing resources from the other players. So now we're the thorn in the side of the Capone player, making that a very, very nice use of all our abilities and all of our skills. Let's discard, draw 2 more cards, and we're going to get a hand of 3 bodyguards and 1 lieutenant to start our next turn. Back to Capone, who's going to draw that $1 that they get at the start of every single one of their turns. For the Capone player, we are going to do another hire associate phase. So we're going to lay out our plan to get a total of 5 influence. Now this is overdoing it, but I want to make sure I get the power from my retrieving from my lieutenant card. That's why I'm playing both these cards. So before we do anything, we got to take one of our thugs, add them to the underworld, and again, our crime rate's going to go back up to 5, where it seems to be bouncing a lot. We have a total of 5 influence, and we have a choice between alderman or the film producer. Both of these are really good choices, but I like the ability to retrieve any number of your thugs from the authorities and the underworld. Keeping our ability to keep our total crime rate down is really, really nice. We're going to take this card, and since we don't have enough alcohol to put it into our hand, it's going to go into our discard pile. I'm okay with that for now. Now we have our skills available to us. One we're going to do is retrieve 1 thug from a district or a deal. Well, we're going to retrieve them from one of our deals, putting them back into our headquarters, meaning that our deal is now open. Then it says choose a card in your discard pile other than the boss and remove it from the game. Gain 3 times as many dollars as the total number of muscle plus influence plus stars of the removed card. So, if I look at my hand of cards here, I can start getting rid of my weaker cards that are not doing a lot of things for me. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of one of my bodyguard cards. Now this isn't going to give me a lot, but the positive is this going to start thinning out my deck and making sure that I'm going to get the cards that I want when I need them. You're starting to see that I'm starting to get a lot of very powerful cards. I want to make sure those powerful cards are in my hands at all times. So this bodyguard card is going to be removed from the game because it says, let's see, you choose a card, not an associate. It says choose a card, and I'm going to get as many dollars as the total. So this will only be worth $1 to me. Yippee, a whole dollar. Sounds very familiar because I keep getting $1 every turn. Oh well, we're going to take that $1. At least that card is out of our hand. Both these cards are going to go into our discard pile because we've used all the abilities. Nothing left in our draw pile at all. We still have 1 card left in our hand, so we're not going to get a reorganization phase, but we're going to go back to the Stephanie player, who now has a hand of 3 bodyguards and 1 lieutenant, and that means we have lots and lots of muscle. I'm thinking that we can take advantage of this very, very quickly. I think what we're going to do for the Stephanie player is we're going to do a gang upgrade. So we need 1 muscle and we need 1 point of influence, and we're going to go ahead and choose to do one of the upgrades. The upgrade I think we're going to take is we're going to take the Night Club upgrade, since it takes 1 of 1 plus it takes $4. So let's spend $5, getting back $1 for us right there. We're going to take this cube right here and we're going to place it in the nightclub, making sure that we remember to go ahead and advance our crime rate up 1 level for upgrading our gang skill there, just like that. Then we'll go ahead and advance Stephanie right there, and since we managed to upgrade a nightclub, that means we got to pick one of these locations on the board and go ahead and upgrade it to a nightclub. I think we're going to pick this location just because right now it seems like a darn good idea. So that's going to allow us to add a nightclub token into that location, which means more money for us during our refresh phases. And it also is going to allow us to produce more money if we manage to get enough alcohol and enough guns out there. I think we can start working towards that goal right now, and that makes us really, really happy. That is going to be it for our turn for the Stephanie player. We're going to discard our cards. No more cards on our draw pile, so we don't have any options except the 2 cards we have left over. Let's go back to the Capone player, who is going to do one last thing, which is going to be go ahead and getting a deal. So to get a deal, we're going to take one of our thugs. We're going to send them to our alcohol supplier. Now remember, this is going to allow us to get a total of 3 barrels of alcohol. We'll place all 3 barrels of alcohol out there. Don't forget we have the dealer supply bonus, which gives us that nice bonus. That's going to be it for the Capone player. They have no cards left to draw. That means that next turn they have to do a reorganization phase. Back to the Stephanie player, who we already know what she is going to do another gang upgrade. We happen to have 2 muscle that we are going to produce, and we're going to go ahead and take the dealer supply option because we want to start doing some sales over here in our new wonderful nightclub, because that's going to allow us to start making some really good money very, very quickly. So the first thing we need to do is we need to spend the money to go ahead and do so. So it's going to cost us $4, and as long as we produce 2 muscle, which we did, we're going to be fine. So I'll take the 5, discard it. We will take the 1, meaning that we're back down to $22 there. We'll take this cube right here, and we're going to add it to our dealer supply. That means our crime rate is going to go up 1 more point, putting us into the orange, so we need to be very, very careful about how we're doing this right now. And then we're going to advance, meaning that we get to gain one of our good cards into our hand, and we need to figure out exactly which one of those good cards we want to add into our hand, because it's going to make us much more efficient. And I think for us, it's going to be a very easy choice of getting the counselor card. The main reason why we want the counselor card is because for us, we're not producing as much influence as a Capone player does, because that's where they're starting to take over from us. They're producing a heck of a lot of influence, which means they can basically dominate the influence row over here from hiring associates. So we're going to take the counselor. This is going to give us 2 points of influence on our turn, and we are going to simply add this into our discard pile because we don't have any alcohol that allows us to not do so. Now, this is where I'm going to realize that this is going to be the 3rd mistake of the video. I think at one point, I forgot to take the ring for taking the police captain. So that means that Capone is a dirty cheater. He has $1 extra that he should not have, because he's definitely been hiring since then. So I think you only lost out on $1. So I'm going to go ahead and take that $1 back now that I remember that fact. Again, trying to make these as error-free as possible. I really am doing my best, but let's go ahead and finish things off. That is Stephanie's turn, which means she's going to do a reorganization phase, and also so is Capone. That's going to bring us also very much closer to that extra phase. That's going to make things very, very exciting. So the start of Capone's reorganization phase, we're going to take a $1 because we still have the ring, and now we get to do a sale in a neighborhood. So we need to have one gun. We'll take that one gun for one of our deals. Then we need to have 2 barrels. Well, our truck will compensate for one of those barrels. Actually, you know what? I think we're going to be smarter. Should I keep the gun? I think I'm going to keep the gun. I'm going to have the truck represent one of the guns, and then I'm going to spend 2 of the barrels. That leaves us with 2 barrels. Because we know Stephanie's going to start stealing our resources soon anyways. I don't want to give her anything good to steal. So we will do that, and that's going to give us a total of $16. Let's go ahead and add $4 because we have tons and tons of ones over here. Take these $4, put them back over here, and that's going to give us $20. That puts us almost close to $40 at this point, which actually is not too bad at all. Fortunately, we don't have a business anymore, so we're not going to get to $3. But we do get to retrieve from authorities if we happen to have that as the case. We don't. We don't have any in our prison at this point, but we do have one of our thugs out there on deal, so we will get them back right now. Now our recruitment level happens to be at a 1, so we'll recruit one of our associates from a safe house into our headquarters, and now we're going to reshuffle our deck. I'm thinking at this point that we want to increase our hand size to 5, because we have a lot of cards in our hand. Now all these cards are nice for us because they're going to be victory points for us at the end of the game, but they also, if we're not careful, are going to start slowing us down. So 4 cards we're going to draw, and it looks like we're getting a really good hand next time around. We're going to be able to do lots and lots of cool things. Liking what I see there. Advancing the time track, and now the next player gets to take their turn, which is going to be Stephanie, who is also going to do reorganization phase, but her reorganization is going to be fairly lucrative without even having to burn any resources at all. That's going to be really darn nice for her. So the first thing we will do is we'll sell in any neighborhoods. Can't do that. We don't have any resources to sell at all. But now we're going to get $3 for every single business we have. We have 1, 2, 6, 8 businesses. That's going to be a total of $24. I'll take $1 back. That's going to give us a total of $25. And now we're looking at the fact that I think we're actually richer than Capone. Now, we shouldn't know this, but I know this because I see both the dollar values. So I'll let you know that Stephanie, she's richer than Capone right now. She's doing very, very good. Now, if we have any authorities, we will retrieve them. We do have any in the authorities. They go back to our headquarters. We do have 1 lawyer level, so we'll take one of our thugs out of the prison, put them back into our headquarters. And now our recruitment level happens to be currently at level 1. We'll do 1 simple recruitment from the slums into the safe house right there. And then we're going to shuffle our deck. Now, the nice thing is, don't forget, our deck right now has 2 new cards that we managed to gain. It's going to be the counselor card and also the police chief that we got earlier. So we're going to draw 4 cards. Our new hand is going to be our boss, our bodyguard, our counselor, and our police captain. Wow, that's going to give us a lot of options for us on our next turn. We'll advance the time marker, and now we get to go back to the Capone player. So the Capone player for their turn, I know exactly what we're going to do. We're simply going to play 1 card. We're going to play our boss card out there. Now remember, a boss card is effectively 1 muscle and 2 influence plus 3 skills. So we're going to go ahead and use 2 of those skills to boost us up to a total of 4 influence, which means we're going to take one of our thugs. We're going to head to the underworld. Unfortunately, since we have 2 there, that means we're going to go into the orange. Not the best place to be, but at least it's going to allow us to take the action we want to take, which is going to be hire an associate. So since we have a total of 4 influence, 2 from our card, plus 2 from our skill use, that's going to give us a total of 4. That's going to give us a gunman, which is going to allow us to take this gunman, which we either put in our discard pile, or we can put this gunman into our hand. This gunman is going to go into our discard pile, and you'll see why in just one moment. We still have 1 skill use, and that skill is the ability to hire any associate if we like. Flip your next one, can't afford them anyways, but allows us to hire any associate equal to or less than our current hand size, which is going to be 4 if we spend $2 for every single star. So we're going to see the film producer is out there right now. So I'm simply going to spend $10. We'll take $2 back, and we will go ahead and gain the film producer. And for the film producer, I am definitely going to put the film producer in hand. I'm going to spend the 2 barrels it requires, and the film producer is now in our hand. And we got to do all that just from actually just 1 card being played. Shows you the power of getting all those skills and all those combinations and how those can work together and give you some wonderful benefits. Back to the Stephanie player, who we see has a large hand of lots of things we can do, including the counselor, which allows us to carry out 2 orders this turn by splitting all the muscle and all the influence in your plan any way you want. But if we do so, we're going to go ahead and gain 1 point on the crime rate. Definitely worth it. Now for the Stephanie player, our game plan is pretty much primo perfect for the amount of cards that are in this associate row. It's actually magical how awesome this turn is going to be for us. Looking at the candidate card, looking at the cards we have in our hand, and oh yeah, look at the board state. We control one heck of a lot. So I think we can easily see exactly what we are going to do on our turn. So the action we are going to take is we're going to take the action of sending one of our thugs to a dealer to go ahead and gain resources. The resources we want to get is we want to get alcohol because we want this candidate card to go into our hand, which means we want to do a higher associate action. So since we're doing a higher and associate action, we know that we are going to be sending one of our guys to the underworld, but we have to be careful to make sure that we're not spending too many resources, because if we do, that's going to be a little bit challenging for us. So let's figure out exactly what 2 actions we want to do, making sure we're taking advantage of as many of these cards as possible. Unfortunately, this does mean that we are going to be spending 3 cards this turn, which means our crime rate is going to go up to 8. And we're going to play all 3 of these cards: the bodyguard, the counselor, and the police captain. Actually, take that back. I don't need to do that. I forgot the police captain produces muscle as well. So let's keep the bodyguard and our crime lord in our hand, and we'll just play the 2 cards, the police captain and the counselor. 2 muscle and a total of 4 influence. So the very first thing we are going to do is our first action of going to one of our dealers. Let's take our thug, and we're going to place the thug on the dealer right here, which is going to give us a total of 3 resources. Now the resources I think we are going to take is we're going to take 2 barrels, and I think we're going to take 1 gun. Since we have the dealer supply action right there, that's going to allow us to get that nice thing. Now, I can keep some of those resources back on the dealers we have, so I'll simply place 1 barrel on one dealer, 1 barrel on the other dealer, and the bonus resource I get for my skill is going to be the gun I will place over here in this building. Nope, bad idea. I'm going to place it right there because that's what I'm thinking what I want to do. Now that we've done that right there, that is our first action we get from the counselor. Now remember, we get to take 2 actions. If we do so, our crime rate is going to go up 1 level. Our crime rate will go up right there, and then the action we're going to be taking is going to be sending somebody to the underworld. Unfortunately, that means our crime rate is going to go up 1 more time. We have a total of 4 influence right now, and we're going to take the candidate who has, oh, they're actually 5 stars. I guess I have to play Stephanie to get to the 5 stars. I thought it was a 4-star card. I made a mistake. So we're going to play Stephanie, which is going to give us 1 more point on the raid track. Oh well, at least we're going to get what we want, which is the candidate is going to go into our hand because we're going to discard these 2 barrels right here, which allows us to add the candidate into our hand. That means we have the candidate and the bodyguards in our hand, and all 3 of these cards get to get discarded. But before we do so, we do have some skills to use, including our boss card skills that we have access to. So the first thing we're going to do is look at the police captain. Unfortunately, the police captain says that we take a business marker from a rival neighborhood. Unfortunately, our rival only has 1 neighborhood, and we've already stolen their business, so we can't do that quite yet. The counselor will use for the ability to take 2 actions, so now that means we have Stephanie's skill of having access to all 3 of her, or all 4 of her skills, and 3 actions we can take by doing that thing. I'm thinking that what we are going to do is action number 1 is to do a recruit action. Action number 2 is going to be another recruit action. Then action number 3 is we will steal a resource from a neighbor. Actually, they don't have any resources anymore. I forgot that they burned them all. So since they can't give me any resources, let's just do 3 recruit actions. I think we're A-okay just by doing those 3 recruit actions. That's going to work out perfectly for us. That does spend all of our cards right here, and we are dangerously close to a raid, so I think I'm pretty sure I know what we're going to do next turn. Let's draw our 2 more cards, which means we're going to have a bodyguard, the candidate, a lieutenant, and another lieutenant. Back to the Capone player who has lots of cards in their hand and lots of options of things they can do on their turn, including looking at the masked robber. So we have a film producer, a rum runner, a lieutenant, and alderman. Well, I think I know exactly what we are going to do here. This is actually going to be a pretty darn easy turn for us to figure out what we want to do. Alderman produces 3 influence. The Rum Runner produces 2 influence. That's going to give us a total of 5. I think what we're going to do is we're going to play those 2 cards. So let's take these 2 cards, leave these 2 cards in our hand. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to use our skill from Alderman, which says retrieve any number of your thugs from the authorities and the underworld. Let's take these 2 thugs back right now. Then the action we're going to do is we're going to take the action of hiring an associate. It's going to make our crime rate go up to 8. I'm pretty sure I know what we're going to be doing pretty darn soon here. Next, we have a total of 5 influence. Let's go ahead and use that 5 influence to go ahead and get the mind reader, who's going to be added to our discard pile. Next card that's going to come out is the dominatrix. And that's it. We're going to take these 2 cards. I don't have any other abilities from these cards that I want to use or that I can't even use. They'll go into our discard pile. Let's draw 2 more cards, meaning we have the lieutenant, the film producer, the Canadian mobster, and the judge in our hand. Oh, that's going to give us lots of options on things we can do. Back to Stephanie right now, and her bodyguards, her candidate, and her 2 lieutenants. I think our turn is pretty much planned out for us really quick. We're going to do the candidate and we're going to do the lieutenant. Before we do that, I got to make sure that Capone gets his $1 since he still has the ring that I completely forgot about. And I know the ring has bounced probably again. And right, did it bounce again and I completely forgot again? Yeah, no, it did not. Ooh, I was starting to get worried for a minute there. Actually, yeah, it did bounce. So, oh boy, I told you the ring was going to cause problems for me. I knew the ring was going to cause problems for me because remembering to bounce that ring back and forth every time you do an associate, when you're playing alone, trying to control 2 teams is going to be a little bit fun. I think, if I'm not mistaken, that when we hired the candidate with Stephanie, that she would have got the ring. And then Capone would have got the ring back when he hired the mind reader. So he would not have actually gotten the dollar because he did not have the dollar or the ring at the start of his turn. It actually would have been Stephanie's at the start of his turn. He would have took his action, hired the associate, got the ring back. Darn, that ring is going to be the bane of my existence in this video. I swear it's going to be. Okay, sorry. I hate that. I do apologize. I really am trying to be as accurate as possible here when it comes to this. So back to this Stephanie St. Clair. We are going to play the candidate and we're going to play the lieutenant and do our plan. It's going to give us a total of 4 influence. We're going to take one of our thugs and we're going to send the thug to the authorities. We produce 4 influence. That means we can drop our crime rate level down from a 10 all the way down to a 6. Additionally, we can hire any 1 to 4 star associate by spending money equal to their star value. And if we want to take 1 point of crime rate, we can actually put them into our hand. I am thinking, because thematically it just seems perfectly funny at this point, that we are going to use the candidate's ability. We're going to go ahead and take the dominatrix, and to do so we need to spend $4 since it's a 4-star card. I'm going to take $5. We'll get $1 back in change, and we're going to take the dominatrix. Now I think that at this point I am not going to put her into our hand just yet. So let's go ahead and put her into our discard pile. Let's reveal the next card. And then with our lieutenant, we're going to retrieve 1 of our thugs from our deal right there. They're going to go back onto our board just like that. Both of our cards have been spent. They will go into our discard pile. We're going to draw our hand of last 2 cards, meaning that we have 3 bodyguards and 1 lieutenant in our hand that'll be available to us on the next turn for the Stephanie player. Back over to the Capone player, who has got a lot of cards that have a lot of cool things on them and lots of options of things we can do, including bring down our crime rate. Because I'm sure you're seeing that our crime rate is really starting to skyrocket and we're getting very close to a refresh phase for somebody coming up very quickly. So we're going to play the film producer and we're going to play the judge. To play the film producer and the judge, that's going to give us a total of 5 influence and a total of 2 muscle. So we're going to send 1 of our thugs to go to the authorities, and that's going to allow us to reduce our crime rate. We produce a total of 5 influence, so we're going to go down from 8 all the way back down to 3 by playing these 2 cards. Now it says right here that we're going to gain $3, $2, $1 or 2, 3, 4 players for each thug in all your headquarters. I have 4 thugs in my headquarters right now, and we are playing a 2-player game, so I'm going to go ahead and gain $12. Additionally, I'm also going to gain $1 more because I legit, this time, officially, really, honestly and truly, do control the ring at the start of my turn. This is going to retrieve all of our thugs from the prison. We don't need to worry about that. We don't have any matching effects. So let's go ahead and discard those 2 cards into our discard pile. We have 2 cards in hand. We're going to draw 2 more cards, giving us a lieutenant, a bodyguard, a Canadian mobster, and another lieutenant for our next turn. Back to the Stephanie player, who does have a hand of 4 cards, 3 more bodyguards. One of them is a lieutenant. And I'm thinking that we actually have lots of really cool things we can do. I just need to plan this out just right to make sure we're doing as many cool things as possible. And I think one of those cool things that we are going to do is we're going to upgrade our gang at this point. So we're going to upgrade our gang. I need to spend 1 influence and we need to spend 1 muscle, meaning I'm going to use these 2 cards. These 2 cards will still remain in our hand, and we're going to do the vehicle upgrade right here. So to do so, I need to produce $4. We'll take $10 right there. That'll give us $6 back. Nice and easy, just like that. We need to produce 1 and 1. I did so by spending these 2 cards right there. I'll put them over on the board so I don't forget what I spent. And then we will take this and we will place it right here where the vehicles is. Now that we've done that, our crime rate will go up 1, putting us back into the orange. But our mob boss is now 3 muscle and 1 influence, which is super duper nice for us and actually really darn cool. Now, our skills we have available for us is we have the lieutenant, which allows us to retrieve from a deal or from a district. I don't think we quite want to do that for any reasons quite yet. Don't want to do this because I don't have the alcohol barrels to do so. So that is going to end our turn. And we have 2 cards left in our turn, which means we're pretty much approaching another refresh phase for Stephanie. For the Capone player, we need to start making some decisions and figure out exactly what we want to do. And I think part of that is going to be upgrading our gang. So we're going to go ahead and put out our lieutenant and our bodyguards, producing 1 muscle and 1 influence, which is going to allow us to create a nightclub. I want to turn this into a nightclub so we can start producing some money. I think that's going to be one of our best things that we can do at this point. So we do need to spend $4. Instead of spending 4, I'm only going to spend 3 because we get $1 for starting with the ring. Since I didn't take that yet, I'm just going to spend $3 for a total of 4 right now. Now we're going to go ahead and upgrade our gang. So to do so, that's going to put 1 point of crime rate for us. We're going to advance on the track right there, and I need to go ahead and create a nightclub. This is going to turn into a nightclub just like this, giving us a business. And hey, we're going to start being happy because finally we got a business. I think that's actually going to be the best thing for us to do right now. The card I'm going to gain from our right-hand men is going to go ahead and take the bookkeeper, which allows us to draw dealers, because that's one thing that we're lacking is the dealers to start doing some good sales. I think that's what I want to do at this point. So we'll put that in our discard pile. We will discard 2 of these cards because there's nothing they really can do right now for us. We'll draw up our last 2 cards, meaning that we have a hand of 4 cards, including bodyguard, a lieutenant, the widow, and the Canadian mobster themselves. Those are our 4 cards. That is going to be it for the Capone player. Now we get to go back over to the Stephanie player, who has a bodyguard and a bodyguard, meaning that they're going to produce 2 muscle at this point. I am thinking we're going to upgrade our recruiter's value because I think that is going to help us the most at this point. So we need 2 muscle to do so. We're producing 2 muscle. We're going to take this cube right here. We're going to place it right over here on our recruiters. We're going to spend $4. Our crime rate is going to go up 1 more point, keeping us still in the orange there, and we're okay like that. We're going to advance on to our next point right there, meaning that we get to look at all of our cards and decide which one of our right-hand cards that we want to gain into our hand. I am thinking that so far it seems like we are doing great on having muscle. So let's go ahead and also take the bookkeeper, because I'm thinking that I'm thinking the bookkeeper is going to be best for us. So let's take the bookkeeper. The bookkeeper is going to go into our discard pile. These two cards are not going to have any skills that are going to be any use to us at all. So let's place all these other cards into our discard pile. That means our entire hand is in the discard pile. That also means that next turn, Stephanie is also going to do a reorganization, which is going to be followed by an extra. So let's go back to the Capone player, knowing that that is going to happen very, very quickly. We see that we have bodyguards, the widow, the Canadian mobster, and we also have a lieutenant. I am thinking that we need to start getting some deals. So to get a dealer, we need to have influence. So the more influence I have, the more cards I'm going to be able to draw to go ahead and get the deals that I want. I want some really extremely lucrative deals. So I'm going to spend my lieutenant, and I'm going to go ahead and spend the widow right there. It's going to give us a total of 5 influence. I'm going to take one of my thugs, place them in the underworld, and then my crime rate's going to go up 2 from 4 all the way up to 6 because I'm doing the get a dealer. I produced 5 influence, so I'm going to draw 5 dealers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're going to look at all 5 of these, but I get to keep one of them only. So guns, guns, alcohol, alcohol, and alcohol. So I am going to be doing this as an add-on, so I'm not worrying about the storage at all. I'm basically just worrying about the production for these cards. That's what I care about because I'm going to make one of my deals better. Do I want alcohol or do I want guns? I am thinking we want alcohol because I know I get 2 guns very, very easily every single turn, or I can just use him to counteract one of those guns. So I'm going to take the distillery owner. I think that's going to be the best card for me. For 1 influence, instead of 2 influence, get the same amount of alcohol. So for what I'm doing, that is technically going to be the better card right there. All 4 of these deals will go to the bottom of the dealer deck. We're not going to get them. And then this distillery owner is going to be added onto my alcohol supplier, create a 1 bigger deal. So for 2 muscle, I'm going to gain 5 barrels of alcohol, which is going to be absolutely fantastic. So choose a card in your discard pile. I will go through and I'm going to find one that has no good use to me because I'm trying to thin out my deck. Oh, unfortunately, I don't have any cards I want to get rid of. That's a tough one. I will get rid of the lieutenant, which is going to give me $1, plus my dollar for starting the turn with the ring is going to give me $2. This is removed from the game. I will never get that lieutenant back in my hand, but that's okay because I'm getting lots of very powerful cards. Get to retrieve 1 from a deal. Don't need to do that. Don't need to worry about that. So these are going to go into the discard pile. No cards to draw, so now we get to go to Stephanie's turn, and Stephanie is going to go ahead and do a full reorganization turn. So at the start of the turn, we get to sell in any of our neighborhoods. We have nothing to sell at all, so now we get to get money from businesses that we control. 1, 2 businesses, 1, 2, 6, 8 businesses. That is again going to be $24 for us. I will take 25 and put $1 back into the tray right there. Next, we're going to retrieve anything from the authorities. We do have 1 in the authorities, which is actually going to work out for us. We don't have any on any kind of deals at all. We don't have any in any of the prisons. So our current recruitment value is going to be a recruitment value of 2. So that's actually worked out perfectly for us. We're going to go 1, 2, and now we have lots of thugs to do lots of things for us on our turn, which makes us super duper happy. So we're going to reshuffle our hand. Our hand size is still 4, but we do have lots of more cards added to our hand. Our new hand is going to be lieutenant, bodyguard, bookkeeper, and the candidate. That's going to make for a nice turn for us. And then we're going to advance over into the extra, which means that we get to carry out another raid. So the very first thing we're going to do for the extra is we're going to carry out the raid by putting everybody in the underworld is going to go to the prison. Then we're going to reveal the top card of the raid deck, and we're going to figure out what's going to happen. It says, First Ward Alderman. Oh, this is not going to really affect anybody at all. Each player puts in prison any thug from their authorities. Oh, Capone. You should have bribed better, Capone. It would have looked so much better for you. So, Stephanie is currently in the orange, and it says spend 1 alcohol from your neighborhoods for each neighborhood you control. Don't have any alcohol. We're fine. Apparently, we were smarter. We knew the raid was coming. Next up is for Capone. He's currently in the yellow. So for the yellow, it says spend 1 alcohol for neighborhoods for every 2 neighborhoods you control. Don't have any alcohol in our neighborhoods, so we're fine on that. And then now for both of us, our crime rate is going to go down equal to our lawyer's level. But let's look at this card right here. Remember this one. It says if a raid is triggered during an action turn, yep, this was a reorganization, so we don't need to worry about it at all. So lawyer level 1, lawyer level is still set at 1. That's going to be it for that raid. That wasn't too bad at all. It hurt Capone much more than it hurt Stephanie, so she's actually doing perfectly fine. Now that we've done that, we are going to go ahead and increase the Elliott Ness track. It's going to go all the way up to the 2 marker right there. And then we reveal the next news card, which is going to be Massacre on St. Valentine's Day. Once during their action turn, players may spend 1 gun to kill 1 rival next to 1 of their thugs. Ooh. Stephanie loves that card. Capone, not so much. So St. Clair, this is the card for you. We'll place that out there just like that, and then we're going to put the time marker back onto the 1 to 2 players. This game is now 2/3 of the way being through. Let's go ahead and continue our game, going back to the Capone player, who is getting very close to also performing another reorganization. So the Capone player, for their turn, they actually have quite a few options, including gain that $1, which I'll probably forget at least 1,000 more times during this video. And I am thinking now we want to start taking advantage of our nightclubs, because this is how we're going to start making our money. We don't need to have a lot of businesses. We just need to have 1 business that's going to be at least semi-protected and at least going to produce some things for us. So we're going to play both of these cards down. Now, I don't need all 3 of these cards. I actually only need 2 of them. I'm sorry, I only need the Canadian mobster himself. But I also want to get to a refresh, because I want to get some of these cards, because I have lots of cards. I want to get these cards back into my hand, because that's what I'm really looking forward to. So playing both these cards for a total of 3 muscle. And the action that we are going to take is we're going to take the action of getting supplies from 1 deal. So we're going to take 1 of our thugs, and we're going to put them on that advanced deal that we had earlier, which requires 2 muscle. I had the muscle easily right here. That's going to go ahead and produce 5 alcohol for us. So let's go and grab the 5 alcohol we will produce. Unfortunately, that will only allow us to put 1 barrel on top of that, and then the other barrels are going to have to go right here to the section. Additionally, since we have the dealer's option, we're going to get 1 extra resource, and the extra resource we're going to take is we're going to take a gun. I'm going to take that gun right there and place it just there like that. That is actually the dealer action we're completing. Now let's go and finish the cards that we got right here. So we're going to go ahead and discard 1 of our deals and retrieve any thugs that happens to be on it. We're going to take our starting gun supplier deal that isn't worth a lot, and we're going to get rid of it. And then we're going to go ahead and take a new deal. We're going to draw 1 dealer, and we're going to get gun traffickers. This actually worked out perfectly for us. I'm actually very, very happy with how this worked out. That's going to give us the ability to gain 3 guns anytime we send somebody there. That actually worked out perfectly. So these 2 cards are done. Our turn is finished. I'm actually super duper happy with that. That actually worked out perfectly for us. That's going to be it for the Capone player's turn. And now we could go back to St. Clair, who has a full hand of 4 cards, including the candidate, 2 bodyguards, and 1 lieutenant, and lots of options of exactly what we can do here. Candidate allows us to hire an associate by spending money equal to their star value. Thinking I might do that just because that's going to be victory points at the end of the game. And that means we are going to produce at least 3 influence right here. I am thinking that we want to start adding some business markers. I think that's going to be an absolutely phenomenal deal for us right now. Adding more of those business markers is going to be absolutely great for us. So I am thinking that we're going to keep the bodyguards and the lieutenant. We're going to keep them back in our hand. We're going to spend the candidate and we're going to spend the bookkeeper, which is going to allow us to produce a total of 4 influence. So we're going to take 1 of our thugs and we're going to send that thug to the authorities, and we're going to do the add a business marker deal. Since we reduce a total of 4 influence, that means we get to gain 4 businesses. So I'm going to go be a little bit of variety going on right here. And then I will add 1 here. We will add 2 right here, and then we're going to add 1 more business just like that. That's going to be a total of 4 influence to do it, and this says hire 1 to 4 star associate by spending money equal to their star value and add it to your hand. And add it to your hand, get +1 of our crime rate. There's a comma there. So that's optional. I don't think we're going to do that, but we're going to go ahead and take the mass robber. I'll spend $4 because that's endgame victory points, and I'm okay with that. So the mass robber, is he worth adding to your hand? Gain $4 for each car you have on the central and adjacent districts. Ooh, for each car. Well, that might be worth it to go ahead and add another vehicle out there. Did I forget to add the vehicle earlier? You know what? When I upgraded my gang earlier, I forgot to add the vehicle out there. Again, I'm getting so much better at making mistakes here because, you know, it's even funner when we do that kind of stuff. So the mass robber, we will take him and we're going to add him into our hand. So we're going to upgrade right here. And in case you're wondering why I just add that car here, remember earlier when I upgraded myself from one vehicle? Yep, you guessed it. I forgot to add that car onto the board. And I knew that's what I was going to do because I'm trying to control the board. That's pretty much what I'm trying to do with this player. So this will go into my hand. The bookkeeper allows me to draw one card from the dealers, and we're going to get the gun runner. I'm going to take the gun runner, and I think I'm going to add the gun runner to my gun supplier to make that a much more lucrative deal, making that a better deal for us to use right there. And I think that is basically going to be it for these two cards. We're going to discard these two cards, and we'll draw one card back to our hand size of 4 cards, and now we get to go back to the Capone player, who will gain $1 for still possessing the ring. No, we don't have the ring. The ring is going to go over to Stephanie St. Clair now because she just hired an associate. Again, one of these days, I'm going to get this 100% correct. I think we're up to 7 errors now. Just 7. Probably not my worst. Okay, back to the Capone player now who is going to take their turn. Their turn is going to be a reorganization phase because they have no cards in their hand. They have no cards in their draw pile. So the first thing that's going to happen is they're not going to gain any money because they don't control the ring. Now they get to sell their neighborhoods. This is something we can actually do. So we have 1 gun plus 1 gun from the truck, plus we have 3 barrels. We will sell all those resources to go ahead and gain $32. So 10, 20, 30, $2, just like that. Now that we've done that sale in the neighborhood, now we're gonna gain $3 for each business we have. We have 1 business, that's gonna give us a total of $3 more. I'll put 2 back and take a 5 to make the math easier at the end of the game. Then we're going to retrieve anybody we have in the authorities. We don't have anybody in the authorities. We have 1 person on a deal. We will take them back just like that. And then we get to retrieve as many of our thugs from prisons as our lawyer value. Our lawyer value is currently 1, so they will also go into our headquarters. And then we're going to do a recruitment of 1, going from the slums into the safe houses with 1 of our thugs. We're going to shuffle our draw deck, and then the time marker is going to advance. We're going to draw a hand of 4 cards, and that's going to end our turn. And now we get to go back to the Stephanie player who gets to figure out exactly what she wants to do. Ooh, those are a lot of cards. A lot of really good cards. Start of Stephanie's turn. Hey, guess what? She gets to get $1 because she's finally got the ring, and I may have actually remembered this time, or hopefully I did. We have our full hand of 4 cards, which is going to be a lieutenant, 2 bodyguards, and the mass robber that we purchased on our turn. I am thinking that the mass robber is an absolutely fantastic thing to have right now. And I'm thinking that we want to go ahead and start capturing some neighborhoods, some more neighborhoods, I should say. So since we want to capture some more neighborhoods, I'm thinking that we want to play the masked robber. And I'm also thinking that we want to play 1 of the bodyguards. Those will be the 2 cards we're going to play on our turn. That's going to give us a total of 4 muscle to go ahead and do the actions we want to do. So we want to send some of our associates to the districts where we currently have control. So we produce a total of 4 muscle. That means we can take 4 of our thugs and put them out there where we currently have control. Let's go ahead and put them all right out here just like that, which will make the Capone player be very, very scared right now and make them go, uh-oh. Hopefully they're not all coming my way because that's going to look really, really bad for my business if I do so. Maybe I should start making a concerted effort to increase my defenses. Just maybe. Okay, back to what we're going to do here. So we sent all of our guys to our district. That is all of our influence right there. And now we get our skills that we get to do if we want to do so. I think we're going to go ahead and send this police officer right here just like that. And then we're going to gain $4 for each car you have in the central and adjacent districts. And I may move a police officer. So we're going to gain $8 right here. And then I may move a police officer if I want to. I think we're just going to move this police officer right there just like that. Symbol does not match, so we don't get to do that. But let's make sure we go ahead and gain our $8 for having 2 cars out on the board right now. that is going to be it. Let's discard our cards. And now we get to go back to the Capone player, who needs to figure out a way to start getting some resources very, very quickly on the defensive there. And, hey, we can do this pretty darn easily. Super duper easy. We have the gunman, and that gunman can do this all by himself pretty much. Let's do it like this. I'm going to do these 2 cards just like that because I want to get as much money as possible. So these are the cards I'm going to play into my plan, and the thing I'm going to do is I am going to move as many units from my headquarters onto my board as I can to make sure I keep this as protected as possible. Before we do that, let's go ahead and use our skills. This says right here, gain $3 for each thug in my headquarters. I currently have 4 thugs in my headquarters. That's going to give me $12. Place that behind my board. And then I'm going to spend 2 guns to hit all rival thugs to next one of your neighborhoods. I don't have 2 guns. Darn it, if only I had 2 guns. I should have planned better for that, but that's not going to be the big thing. The big thing here is that we're going to have 6 total muscle. And we're taking the action of sending some of our thugs to the district. So we're going to send these 4 thugs to this district right here to go ahead and make sure that we stay somewhat protected, because we're not liking this big old wave of thugs that's staring us down at the end of the game here. That does not look very reassuring for us. Discard those cards, draw a hand of 2 more cards, and then we get to go back over to the St. Clair player, who needs to figure out exactly what she wants to do on her turn. So St. Clair has bodyguards, lieutenant, and the dominatrix. So we see that we are producing a lot of influence and very, very little muscle. And I don't have my St. Clair card out just yet. So I'm thinking that maybe we want to take advantage of some of this influence that we have going on right here. I'm thinking that this could be smart for us right now. Although, I know I want that going on there, and I know I want more businesses, which means I want to keep some of my influence back. Yeah, I'm speaking out loud right now because I'm trying to figure out exactly how I want to do this as efficiently as possible. So moving thugs costs muscle to do so. I did not produce a lot of muscle this turn. Okay, so hit one of your thugs, choose an associate from your hand and remove it from the game. Don't have any associates, so I can't even use that ability at all. So you gain $4 for each nightclub on any district. Ooh, I like that. I'm still going to use the dominatrix. We're going to use the dominatrix, and we're going to go ahead and gain 2 influence. And I think we're going to add 1 more influence just because I want to empty my hand out just a little bit. Those are the 2 cards we're going to play. So we're going to play these 2 cards out here into our plan so we have a total of 3 influence going on right now. I think the action we're going to do is we're going to take one of our thugs, send them to the authorities just like that, and we're going to do that to reduce our crime rate. So we produce a total of 3 right there. So our crime rate's going to go from 8 down to 5, putting us back into the yellow. The next thing we are going to do is we're going to use a dominatrix power right here. Since we played a card with a matching symbol, we can do this, which is gain $4 for each nightclub on any districts. There's 2 nightclubs out there, which means that we're going to gain $8. I will discard $2 to go ahead and gain another $10 for us, just like that. Plus, remember, we get $1 because we control the ring at the start of our turn. And then we're going to see that +2 to each rival for each nightclub they control. Our rival controls 1 nightclub, so they're going to go from 5, all the way up to 7. It actually worked out really darn nicely for us. It's a little bit devious. I like what we did. Draw 2 new cards, and now it looks like we got the cards I really wanted. Let's go back to the Capone player, who has a hand of 4 cards. I think what we're going to do is we're going to play the Capone, and we're going to play, I think, the Rum Runner. I think that's going to work out best for us right now because I want a total amount of influence. Actually, no, I have to play Alderman because I need a total of 5 influence for what I want to do right now. So we're going to play Alderman and we're going to play Capone. This is going to give us a total of 5 influence because Capone is still on the first level track, which is 1 muscle and 2 influence at all. It's a total of 5 muscle. And, oh, I can't even do that either. And this is where I realized I actually just put Capone in a little bit of a pickle. I'm going to talk about this when I actually do a review of the game. And I'm actually glad I managed to stupidly do this by not paying attention. But this is one of those games that is possible to play badly in by making a very poor choice. Now, I've never experienced in this game where you get to the point where you can't do anything. But I have had turns where I've experienced where you can't do as much as you want to do. and I'm coming dangerously close to doing that very much exact same thing. So I need to backtrack what I'm doing very, very quickly, because I just literally put myself almost into a wall right here because I don't have thugs. I basically need a end phase to get me some of my thugs back, or I need something to do because I put too many on the board because I panicked when I saw all of that. Yeah, that was a great play of St. Clair. So instead of playing these cards right here, I'm going to play these 3 cards right here. Now, the reason why I'm doing this is because, well, I kind of have to, but you're going to see how this is going to work out just by seeing how this works out. So since I'm playing 3 cards in my plan, that does mean that my crime rate is going to go up by 1 level. I'm going to look over here and use this skill right here to retrieve one of my guys from one of the districts and put them back in my headquarters. Why? Because I have nobody left in my headquarters because I was dumb. Now I'm going to take this guy and I'm going to put him into the underworld, which is going to raise my crime rate by 1 point. And I'm going to use that to do a recruitment action. The amount of recruitment I'm going to get is based on my total influence. I have a total of 6 influence. That's be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now I have people back in my headquarters. Now things are not quite as dangerous as they were starting to look for the Capone player there, which is really darn good thing that I caught this when I did. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to use this because we can link it off of this. So we're going to do -2 to our crime rate from 9 all the way down to 7. And we get to do this for each one of our thugs that we have in our safe house. Well, I currently have 1 in the safe house. Should have played smarter and put 1 more back. Actually, I did 3 more, which would have been very, very nasty. But I don't think I want to put them at 11 because that would cause the raid to occur. So now we are going to raise their crime rate up to a total of 7. That's all going to happen from Alderman. This says take the bottom card from the 1 to 3 associates deck and add it to your plan. At the end of your turn, return that associate to the bottom of its deck. So that would have been labor sluggers. Retrieve all of your thugs from authorities. I don't have any there. So, but I did play that symbol. So I'm going to carry out 1 recruitment, which is going to allow me to put 1 more of my thugs into the safe house right there, which means that I will go down another 2 points, down to 5, putting them at 9, because that would actually have been 2 thugs that I would have had in the safe house. And I would have known that if I would have drawn that card earlier. So that was a very complex turn. But the cool thing about that is it lets you see that this game does allow you to play a little bit dumb, but it also lets you see that certain strategies and certain tactics can be very important, especially in the way and the order that you play your cards. I think that's pretty cool. So I still have 1 card left in my hand. That means I need to draw 3 more cards to get my hand size all the way up to 4 again. And let's see what we got going on now. Okay, back to the St. Clair player. Now, St. Clair knows that we have 4 cards in our hand, and we're going to start rushing towards the end of the game here now because this video is approaching the 2-hour mark, and I did not want this playthrough to go much past the 2-hour mark here. So we have the lieutenant, we have the bodyguards, we have the boss, and we have the police captain right here. We know that we want to capture some districts, and we know that since we have a boss card, that means we get to do some free movement thanks to our ability on our skill card right here, which says that we can move as many of our thugs, ignoring any kind of bribery that we need to do. And we can carry out as many recruitments as we want. We don't need to worry about that because we have every single thug we own on the board right now. And we can also sell if we want. And we also do some stealing, which is something that we're definitely going to do. So first things first, let's do a theft. We're going to steal this barrel, and we're going to put that into our supplies. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to do some movement of some of our thugs. So 1 skill movement to do that. And then the other ones will go over here just like that. That is our skill use. Sorry, I guess I should specify that I am playing St. Clair down on the board. And she is actually the only card I'm going to play on the board because I am also going to take over a neighborhood, which at least only requires us to go ahead and just produce a total amount of offense. I think what I will do is I will make sure that this looks a little bit more protected so I can guarantee that they don't make our life difficult. I'll do that as our movement. No, wait. Now we got to worry about the area control because now area control looks like a possibility of things that we need to stay considering at all times. Let's leave him back there just like that. I think this is a smarter thing to do. So she produces a total muscle of 3 plus 1 more is a 4. We're doing the ability of conquering a neighborhood. So we produce at least 3. So we're going to conquer this neighborhood. We're going to flip that neighborhood over just like that. and we're going to place one of our control markers on it. That's going to be the end of our turn. We only spent one card. We're going to draw one new card, and we're going to discard our boss card into the discard pile. We're going to be pretty much done with that. We're happy with that action. Now we get to go back to Capone. Capone is thinking that it's about time to start gaining some resources and getting some deals and making some sales. So we're going to play the bodyguard, which is going to allow us to take one of our thugs, put them on top of the deal. We're going to gain a total of 5 barrels. And since our dealer supply is at +1, that allows us to gain 1 extra resource. And we're going to make that extra resource be a gun. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is all going to come from the fact that we have the 3 + 2 from distillery and the alcohol supplier. And our bonus is going to be the gun. We're done with that action. We're simply going to do the deal action and be happy with that. Now we get to go draw our hand size back up to 4 cards. Discard our bodyguards. Let's see here. Do we want to do that? No, we don't want to do that. That's going to end our turn. Back to St. Clair, who is thinking that she wants to go ahead and take out another neighborhood. So we will place down 1 bodyguard just like that. We're going to go ahead and attack this neighborhood. This total neighborhood's defense is a total of 4, and I forgot to pay the $2 when I got into that neighborhood. So I'll pay $1 because I also forgot to take the $1 for controlling the ring. I know I forgot to do that. I warned you I'm going to forget that ring so many times during that video. So it's only going to cost us, since there's only 1 police officer, that would have been $2 I spent. Trust me, the money's fine over there now. So we're going to attack another neighborhood. This is a defense of 4. We have a total of 5. We will easily take over that neighborhood just like that, and that is going to be the end of our turn because we attacked a neighborhood by doing a seize a neighborhood action just by playing this bodyguard card. I could have moved the police officer out of there before I did so, and I'll go ahead and do it afterwards because I simply forgotten. That's my fault now. 3 cards left in our hand. We will draw our last card, which means that we are also getting very close to doing a reorganization phase. Back to the Capone player. Capone is going to go ahead and make a sale. So to go ahead and make a sale, we need to make sure that we are going to send one of our thugs into the underworld. Now I still have 2 thugs left. I don't want to put myself in a pickle like I did last time, which is definitely not a good thing at all. So we have 1 neighborhood. We just need to get 1 influence to go ahead and make a sale. That's all we need to do. If I play Capone, I can also do some hiring of associates. That's not going to help us at all. I think all we're going to do is we're just going to play the Canadian mobster. That's all we really need to do. So we're going to play the Canadian mobster, and then our action is going to be to do a sale in a neighborhood. Our crime rate's going to go from 5 to 7 from doing that action, and we're going to sell in this neighborhood right here. Now, unfortunately, there's a police officer here, so we're going to lose $2 from the sale. Not a super big deal. We're not too worried about it at all. So we're going to sell 3 barrels plus 1 gun because we have the truck making up the difference. That's going to give us $30 from doing that 1 action right there. Take the $30, we'll place it over there. Our Canadian mobster will go in discard pile after we look at discarding one of our deals to retrieve any number of thugs on it and spend resources. We're not going to do that, but we will draw the 1 dealer. The new dealer we will get will be the brewery owner. Yep, I will use that to make my gun traffickers a little bit better of a deal, which means it's going to give us guns and alcohol. I'm okay with that. Let's draw a card. Let's go ahead and end our turn, and now we get to go back to the St. Clair player. I have my lieutenant, my police captain, my counselor, and my bodyguards. Let's see here. I think what we're going to do is we are going to play 2 cards to go ahead and gain some influence. I think that's what I want to do. Unfortunately, I think we need to play 3 cards because, again, I overextended on the board again because I keep on forgetting that, hey, I need thugs. So we're going to play 3 cards. Our crime rate is going to go up by 1. We're going to retrieve 1 of these guys from a district. So I'll pick this district right here. He'll go back to our headquarters board just like that. And then the action we're going to do is we're going to go to the authorities. And we're going to send this 1 thug right here to go to the authorities, which is going to allow us to do the action of adding business markers. We have a total of 5 influence. That means we get to add 5 businesses. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. Well, let's just be a little bit creative and do 5 like this. So we'll add 2 businesses just like that. We will add 1 business, and then we will add 2 more businesses just like that. That is our complete turn, and then we get to carry out 1 more order if we like. Let's see here. Take 1 business marker from another player. Can't take a nightclub. Carry out 2 orders this turn. Not going to do that. I think we're done. That is it for us. We are finished, and that means that we have 1 card left in our hand. That's about it. Now we get to go back to the Capone player who has a full hand of 4 cards. I am thinking that we are wanting to get those endgame victory points. And you know what? Guess what I forgot? Stephanie forgot to take her dollar again. I think we're going to play Capone plus the judge. Because we need to. So this is going to give us a total of 5 influence, which is going to allow us to buy this card. Send 1 thug over here, which is going to allow us to go from 7 all the way up to 10 on the influence track there, because we have 3 there right now. Then we're going to retrieve all of our thugs from prison, which is going to be 2. And we're going to decrease our crime rate as many levels as your lawyer value. Our lawyer level is 1. That'll allow us to go down by 1. Since we played our Capone level, or card, we're going to use his 3 skills just to reduce his crime rate from 9 all the way down to 6, using the same skill 3 times. And then after this, we now have a total of 5 influence that we're going to use to buy this card right here. This will give us back the ring. This card is going to go into our discard pile because that's going to be victory points for us at the end of the game. Let's go ahead and discard these 2 cards. Jar our hand back up to 4 cards, which means that we are also getting close to reorganization phase. Back to St. Clair. She has 1 card out there, which is going to be the bodyguards. Unfortunately, since 1 muscle is not much to do a heck of a lot of things, especially when you don't have a lot of anybody out there to do stuff with, I think there's not much that we can choose to do at this point. I'm thinking that all we can do is maybe maneuver just a little bit. Let's go ahead and use 1 influence to maneuver right there just like that. Or, I don't really think there's anything we can do with this. I mean, I could not really do much else. That's about it. Basically what I'm doing is I'm just pushing for a reorganization for the St. Clair player, which is the next thing we're going to do. So we get to go back to the Capone player who does currently have the ring. That will be $1 for us. Next up, we look at our hand of 4 cards. And now we have 2 thugs in our headquarters. We have a couple different things going on. Forgot to refill that. I can tell I'm starting to rush just a little bit too darn much here. I think what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and reduce our crime rate down a little bit further. Because if I go here, my crime rate's going to go right to the roof. And I really don't want that to happen right now. Okay, draw a deal, bodyguards. I think we're going to reduce our crime rate 3 points. Which means I'm going to play these 2 cards right here. Take 1 thug, and I'm going to send them over here into that area. Now that we've done that, actually, you know what? I'm not even going to do that. You know what? Bad idea. I got a better idea of what we're going to do. Crime rate, be darned, we're going to make money. That is what the game is about. The game is all about making money. We're going to go ahead and do a deal. So we're going to use 1 of our cards, 1 of our bodyguards, and we're going to go ahead and sell in a neighborhood. We're going to put 1 here. We're going to go from 6 all the way up to 10. That way it'll be worthwhile for us next turn when we go to do this. Now that we've decided to do that, we're going to do the action of selling in a neighborhood. We have 1 barrel from a deal, that gives us 3 barrels. We have 1 gun from a deal, that gives us 1 gun plus our truck, allows us to sell for $32. Minus 2 for the police officer, that still allows us to make $30. That's going to be a much, much better decision, I think. From 1 card, $30, I'm happy with that. Now we get to go over to the St. Clair player. And St. Clair is going to make a lot of money here because first thing we're going to do is we're going to sell in neighborhoods. There's no neighborhoods we can sell in, so let's go ahead and skip that. We don't need to worry about that. But the next thing we're going to do is gain $3 for every business we control. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 19 businesses. 19 times 3 is going to be $57. So let's go ahead and gain $57 here. So we'll take a 50, we'll take a 5, and then we will take a 7. That's a lot of money. That was totally worth it for a reorganization phase. And then we're going to retrieve anybody we have in the authorities. Now we have some people in our headquarters to go ahead and do some actions for us. We don't have anybody in any of our deals, but we do have one lawyer, so he will go ahead and leave the prison, going back to our headquarters. We now get to carry out recruitments, not going to help us at all. We're going to go ahead and shuffle our draw deck, and we're going to draw 4 cards. That is going to form our new hand of cards. Then we're going to advance the time marker, and now we get to go back over to the Capone player, who has a total of 3 cards in their hand right now. And I know what I want to do is reduce my crime rate as much as possible. So we're going to send a thug to the authorities, and we are currently at 10. We can go down to 3, which means 7. So if I can produce 7, I can produce 6 at least, just by doing that. Put the bookkeeper off to the side. This is going to give us a total of 6 influence, which is going to drop us down from a horrible 10 all the way down to 4, which is going to be pretty darn good for us. Choose a card and discard pile. Don't want to do it. Spend rum for each of your thugs. Retrieve from the underworlds. I don't have any rum to do it. Not going to worry about it. That is going to be our turn. Discard our cards, and now we get to go back over to the St. Clair player. Let's see here. St. Clair for her turn. And let's see here. Masked robber candidate. I think I forgot to give Capone his $1 for having the ring. I think we have lots of options here. We're going to play down the masked robber at least. That's going to give us 3 plus 1 more. I think we're also going to upgrade our gang. So it's going to be 2 influence. No. Wow, we produce lots of muscle here. I think that's all we're going to do. I think we're just going to play the masked robber down right now. And then we're going to go ahead and make a deal, because he definitely covers the deficit that we need right now. So for him, we're simply going to go ahead and do a deal. We're going to take one of our thugs, place him over here, which is going to give us 3 guns. See, one of the guns right there, and then the other 2 guns will go right there. And then we'll get the barrel, because we do have the dealer supply upgrade, which allows us to get that right there. I think that's probably the best action that we can take. And then we're going to gain $4 for each car, so that's going to be $8. I'll put 2 of the dollars back, and I'll go ahead and gain $10 just like that. We'll discard the masked robber. That'll end our turn. We'll go ahead and draw our new card, and then we're going to go over to the Capone player, who has 1 card left, which is the bookkeeper. We'll gain our $1. And I am thinking that we want to go ahead and upgrade our gang, and we're going to gain a vehicle. I think if I upgrade our gang and gain a vehicle, that's actually not going to help us too much, but actually that's not going to help us too much. I am thinking that there's not much else we can do except force that refresh. So I think we're just going to do the gang upgrade. So going to not do that action. Yeah, I'm really starting to think now, because I'm trying to make sure these turns are as efficient as possible now at this point. Yeah, I'm going to upgrade our gang. So we're going to do the 1 and 1, because we're going to go ahead and gain the vehicle, which is going to cost us $4. So I'll do 1, 2, 3, and $4 just like that. We will gain 1 vehicle. Our crime rate is going to go up 1 into the yellow. We're going to gain another truck. That is about all that's going to happen. We will discard this card, draw 1 dealer, take 1 barrel, gain a crime rate. Not going to matter because we're about to end the game. So I'm definitely not going to worry about that. So that'll end our turn. We're going to have to do a refresh turn next. We know that's going to happen. So this is basically St. Clair's very last action she's going to take for the entire game. So I'm thinking victory points is what we're going to do. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to hire one associate. Sending one thug here. Ooh, nope, not going to do that. We don't want to raid. We're going to lower our crime rate down. So we're going to send one of our thugs over here to the authorities. And we are going to reduce our crime rate by a total of 4. So we're going to go down from 10 all the way back down to 6, which puts us in the yellow. I will retrieve, no, not going to retrieve, doesn't matter. Hire one associate by spending money equal to their star value. That's money, victory points at the end of the game. So I'll take this. I'll put a 5 back. I will take a 1. We're going to take the betting operator. I'm not going to put it on my hand. I'm just going to put it on my discard pile because that's basically going to be free money. I can also take $10 for each thug you have in the safe house and place that money there. I don't have anybody in the safe house. Did not plan that very, very well. I should have planned that just a little bit better. And that's going to end my turn. Now draw 2 cards. And then this is going to bring about the end game for both our players because now the Capone player is going to do reorganization, which is going to cause that last extra to happen. So go and do that really quickly, add up our points, and you see exactly how this game is going to play out. So first things first, we're going to gain $1 for having the family ring. That's going to make things super duper easy. We're getting $3 for every business we have. So let's go ahead and put $2 back because we got so darn many ones. And we'll take a 5 because we have only one business, which is this nightclub right here, just like that. We're going to retrieve everybody we have from the authorities. Everybody from the authorities right there. And we don't have anybody in prison, don't need to worry about that. We can carry out recruitments if we like our recruitment levels. So I'll go from the slums into the safe house, nice and easy like that. We're going to reshuffle our deck. Don't worry about it because the game's going to come to an end. And then we're going to go ahead and advance into the extra phase right here. Now we're going to carry out a raid for the extra phase. Let's go ahead and flip over the raid card. It is going to be Prohibition Agent Killed in Fight with Bootleggers. Carry out another raid after this one. Oh, that's interesting. So we're both in the yellow, so we both must spend $3. That is not too tragic at all. So we're both going to spend $3. 1, 2, 3. And let's see here. Wow, you got so many ones over here, Capone. 1, 2, and 3 for Capone, just like that. And then we're not going to go down on crime rate at all. But guess what we got to do? We got to carry out another raid. Oh, this is going to be fun. One more raid. $2 million seized in money laundering raid. Each player must spend $3 for each unfulfilled job they have or discard the job. Well, guess what? We're all discarding our jobs. 3 cards discarded and 3 jobs discarded. I never got to the jobs because that was just a lot to pay attention for this entire game, and you get the idea of how the game works. We're both in the yellow right there, so we need to spend $1 for every 2 cards in your deck. Ooh, that's going to be brutal. Every 2 cards in your deck. Actually, wait, it says deck. So as deck, I only need to count the cards that are currently in my deck, which is that. Okay, so that's not quite as painful as I was thinking. Because it doesn't say hand, it doesn't say discard pile, it says every 2 cards in your... it doesn't say draw pile either. Ooh, this is actually an interesting one. Is that every card in your draw pile or every card in your deck? That's actually very interesting to think. I'm pretty sure that it doesn't matter where the card is. If you own the card, it's going to be part of your deck. So that means we do need to spend more money, which means Capone is going to be hating life here very, very quickly. So let's cause a little bit of misery to Capone. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Not as bad as I thought it was going to be. And I had the math backwards. It's $1 for every 2 cards you have in your deck. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So that's $7. And now I need to redo the math over here because I did $2 for every card, which means that was very dumb of me to fail on reading comprehension like that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 12, 13. So I discarded 26. So let's take back my $26 I foolishly discarded because I should not have discarded that much. because I thought it was $2 for every card. It's the other way around. So since there's 13 cards, that actually means I need to discard $6, because 1 for every 2 cards in my deck. So it was not as brutal as I thought it was. I was about to say, wow, that is a mean, mean card. So both of us have a lawyer's value of 1. That'll make both of us go down. That raid is now going to be over, thankfully. That was like a double raid. That was kind of painful. So that ends the nice double raid that we had right there. So now we're going to increase in the Elliott Ness track all the way up to level 3 right there. We would refresh the associate market at this point. Let's go ahead and just do it so we can say that we did do it, even though this is truly the end of the game. That way you can see all the cool cards that happen to be in the game right now. Then we're going to reveal the new news card, and the moment we reveal this news card, that is going to be the end of the game, because Prohibition is going to end at last. So now that we've done that, now we can go ahead and add up all the victory points for all of our players and figure out who is going to be the grand winner of the game itself. So the way this is going to work, we need to add up all of the victory points we have for all of our players and figure out who is going to be the wealthiest mobster in all of the land here. So to go ahead and make this simpler for myself, I'm going to go ahead and make a little bit of room on the board here just so we can see who has what amounts of money, because I think it's going to be nice and fun to see it in a nice, clean fashion. So first things first, let's go ahead and figure out how much money Capone happens to have at the end of the game. 4, let's add up all the 10s and figure out how much money he happens to have. These are all the 10s. These are the 1s. And here are the 5s. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. There is 100 right there. So Capone will have that much money just like that. Now we get to go over here and figure out how much money we have over here for St. Clair. So there's 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. Just to make things nice and cool looking, let's go ahead and grab 100 for her as well. That way everybody looks like they're super duper rich. These are 4 1s, and there we go. So right now it looks like Capone is slightly in the lead, just by a little bit here. We have 124 versus 144 going on, just looking at what we got going on right here for the Capone player. Now that we've done that, the next thing we need to do is we need to figure out how many stars we have in our associates, because every one of these is going to be worth extra victory points in the amount of $2 per star that we have. So let's look at all the star cards we have. I think this is where Capone is going to kind of pull ahead just a little bit. But don't worry, Stephanie St. Clair is not quite out of it, because she does have all those businesses all across the board. So we have 4, 8, 13, 17, 21, 25, 29, 34, and 38. So we get $2 for every single one of those we have. So that's going to be a total of $76 that we're going to get right there just from having all of those. So 50, 60, 70, 5, and 76. The dollar amounts are looking much, much more interesting now at this point. So now over here we have 3, 7, and 12, 16, 20. So that's going to be another $40 for Stephanie St. Clair as well. So let's take the 10, since we're going to gain 40. That'll be 50. That's going to make the math so much easier at the end of the game here. Now, next thing we're going to do is we're going to gain $3 for every business we have. That means that Capone is going to gain $3 more. I'll take another 5, and actually I'll change that into that, which will be a 10. Then we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to go ahead and make that into a 50 just for that. And now this is where St. Clair is going to make a decent amount of money, because we have 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 19 businesses. We're going to get $3 for every one of those businesses. That means that's going to be $57 for her. And this is going to be how we're going to figure out the final score for the game and figure out who is going to be the grand winner, because whoever has the most amount of money is going to be the grand winner of the game. So looking at everything we have right here, we see that St. Clair has $221, whereas opposed to Capone has $223, meaning that Capone won the entire game by a whole whopping $2. That shows you just how well this game has multiple different strategies. St. Clair went for the total dominance of the board, and Capone went for controlling the marketplace by getting all their associates. Each one of those strategies was totally legitimate, totally worked out in the aspects of the game, and made this a game that was won by exactly $2. Hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed this video series. If you have any comments or questions, leave them down in the YouTube comments down below. I'll get to them as quickly as I can. You can also feel free to email me off-the-shelf board game reviews as otsbgr@gmail.com. I do my best to answer those questions as quickly as I can. If you enjoy the channel, if you enjoy the content I put out there, think about supporting the channel on Patreon. Just $1 in a tip jar is an awesome way to say thanks. Remember, 100% sponsor free. It means my opinions can be my own, but also means all the costs come out of my pocketbook. Just tossing $1 in tip jar is a wonderful way to say thank you. Additionally, if you don't want to spend any money, just click that like, click that subscribe button. That's another wonderful way to help those YouTube analytics help me keep the channel growing strong. Click that like button, click that subscribe button as always. Thanks for watching.